There are tons of exotics in Destiny 2, over 100, and even more ways to build each and every one. But some exotics are better than others. Or are they?
Let's make a build with every single one at a time. This is Destiny Builds A to Z.
So for number 11 on our list, we have Assassin's Cowl. Assassin's Cowl reads with Advancing Execution as its perk. Powered melee final blows grant invisibility and restore a portion of health and shields. Finishers and final blows against more powerful targets increase the duration of the invisibility and the amount of health and shields restored. For our weapons, you can really go with any primary weapon that you want. I just suggest a Strand one. So I have Rufus's Fury here with Demolitionist and Paracausal Affinity. This is going to make it so that we get our grenade back frequently, as well as do some more damage every time that we have any Strand source kill something. But the also important thing to put on here is the special ammo finder, so that you get a little bit more special ammo as you walk around. For our special weapon, which we're going to be using Buried Bloodline. So Buried Bloodline is going to be our other source of survivability, where it's primarily coming from its abilities here, where Violent Reanimation, multiple final blows of this weapon grant Devour to the wielder. So this is going to increase our survivability with extra health on every single kill. So it's going to be comboing perfectly with our Assassin's Cowl, as well as giving us our grenade energy back every time we get a kill. Devour is just extremely powerful to just shove onto Strand. And it's also going to make it so that we can land bolts will leech health from the target. So this is going to make it so that even when you're getting hits with this thing, it'll increase your survivability even further there as well. So with our exotic already giving us some health and regen back on every melee kill, that's what we want to prioritize and build into. So with that in mind, we're going to be going with Strand. So for Strand, we have our Silk Strike on Hunter, and we also have Gambler's Dodge as our first ability. This is going to make it so that when we when we dodge near enemies, we'll get our melee ability back, which will keep this loop going indefinitely pretty much, as it's going to be our main utility on recharging our melee ability, which has a little bit longer of a cooldown than most. For our jump, you can choose whichever one you would like here. I just have triple jump. I just prefer it for PvE. Then for our melee, I have Threaded Spike. So Threaded Spike is going to be a rope dart that you're going to throw, and it's going to chain between a whole bunch of different targets. It's also going to cause severing. Then it'll return to you, and if you can time the button correctly, you'll be able to increase the amount of energy returned. However, with our Death Tumble from before, we'll be able to get this back even if we don't time this perfectly. Then we're basically turning our grenade into another melee ability with Grapple. So Grapple is going to allow us to basically fling ourselves and then press our melee button again while mid-air and slam into a target and cause some extra damage there. So this will actually combo with our mods and everything else and still work with Assassin's Cowl to give us the invisibility as well as the healing regen off of a melee kill. So we basically just have two melee abilities attached to our character. Then for our aspects, we're going to go with Widow's Silk. So Widow's Silk will give us an additional grenade charge, so essentially now we have 3 melee charges, and then our grappling hook will create a grapple tangle at the grapple point. So what this will be is it'll be like a little floating, almost see-through tangle that we can then attach to with our grapple, and it will not actually use a charge of our grapple. So we can put this above a boss or a harder to kill target's head, and we can just keep using that grapple point, or even above a whole bunch of adds, and keep using the grapple point and just kill everything as we go through without actually using more than one melee charge. Then we have Whirling Maelstrom, where destroying a tangle will weave a violent writhing mass of strand fibers. The strand mass seeks out and damages targets, emitting unraveling projectiles when it defeats them. So what this is basically going to be is, think of it like a little strand tornado that's going to be spinning around the map and causing some extra damage. It's basically a dot, if you want to consider it that, of an AoE, and it's going to make it so that for those harder to kill targets, we can basically just throw a tangle at them, maybe grapple onto the tangle as we throw it, and slam into something. So then on our fragments, we have Thread of Propagation, where powered melee final blows grant your Strand weapons unraveling rounds. As we're going to be getting constant melee final blows, we'll have constant unraveling rounds, making this a very clear, easy fragment to choose. Then we have Thread of Warding, where picking up an Orb of Power grants us Woven Mail. This is going to be a decent amount of our survivability. It's quite a bit of damage resist. I'll pop it up on screen here of just exactly how much that is, but it's going to be extremely useful in order to make sure that for endgame content, we're actually still completely viable to stay alive during our melee fiesta here. Then we have Thread of Generation, where dealing damage generates grenade energy. So this is going to make it so that we can get our grapple back as fast as possible, as we don't really have to worry about getting our melee back. We only have, with our dodge, we only have to worry about getting our grenade back as quick as possible. So this is just going to make it so that all of our outgoing damage is continuing to generate our grenade back for us. So this is not something, I know that's been nerfed in the past, but it's still fantastic, and it's just that passive regen that we want to keep going. Then we have Thread of Fury, where damaging targets with a Tangle grants us melee energy. This is going to be that extra consistency, so that we don't always have to be immediately right next to targets, because we're not on arc, we're not doing that chain lightning thing, so we're going to be grappling in, smacking stuff, maybe backing off a little bit, grappling in, smacking stuff, so forth. So we want to make sure that when we throw our Tangle and that hits something, that'll grant us more melee energy, so we just have all of our abilities up all the time. However, this one is swappable if you find that you aren't really using your melee all that much. I would say that you can really choose between Thread of Transmutation, or while you have Woven Mail, Weapon Final Blows create a Tangle, because that will just feed into our aspects a little bit more frequently, or you can use Thread of Isolation, where landing rapid precision hits emit a severing burst from the target. For our mods, we have on our helmet, we have Harmonic Siphon, just so that when we're getting all those rapid Strand weapon kills, we're generating orbs of power for ourselves. Hands-on, so this is going to synergize, so this is going to make us so that when we have super energy on melee kills, this is going to work with our grapple as well as our normal melee. So you can't double up on this for the grapple melee anymore, so you just want to have one of your choice there, and since we're using our melee quite frequently, we're just going to use hands-on. And then we also have a special ammo finder to help feed into our buried bloodline. Then on our gauntlets, we have Font of Focus. I'm just using this because I really don't have great hunter armor, but if you have better armor than me, you could probably replace this with an additional heavy-handed, so you can generate more orbs of power that way, or an additional momentum transfer, or causing damage with a grenade reduces your melee cooldown. Then on our chest piece, I have 2 resist mods. You can swap these out for whatever you are currently facing. I always suggest just at least having 2 of these, because 15% DR towards anything that you are facing is just too important these days. And then I have Strand Reserves. This increases the amount of ammo you can carry for Strand weapons. I just am using Scintillation, so I like to have the extra ammo as backup. You can swap this out for another resist if you are not using something that you think you really need it for. Then we have on our boots better already, so our health is going to begin to regenerate immediately after picking up an Orb of Power. Just another nice little survivability tool. So increasing our survivability there, every time we pick up an orb, it's going to just shoot our health up and just help out with rounding everything off. Then we have 2 Strand Weapon Surges. This is going to affect our primary and our heavy slots, making our primary weapon do just about 17% more damage. Is just too useful to pass up. Then I have 2 Time Dilation mods to make it so that our Strand Weapon Surges are doing a little bit more, and then every time we dodge, we'll proc Powerful Attraction, where it'll automatically collect nearby orbs of power for us every time we dodge. Well, thank you so much for making it to the end. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the build, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay for a little bit. We'd love to have you. So if you have any questions about the build or have some suggestions to make on how to make it better, please leave those in the comments down below. I always read all of those. And just as a clarification for anyone that missed the previous video, which was a bit of a tier list video, I also try to, with exotics like Assassin's Cowl and other ones that appear on the prismatic list for their class items, I try to avoid doing prismatic builds with those, as they're usually better to just utilize the exotic class item instead. So just a little bit of clarification there on why we're not using prismatic for this build, and I went with Strand instead for just a little bit of fun. So thank you so much again for watching, and like, subscribe, and stay for a little while. And always remember, keep on building.